You knew at the moment it happened. The moment Caitlin Clark's name was pulled from the All-Star roster, the tone shifted, the sparkle dulled, and the WNBA's biggest weekend turned into a ghost town in sneakers. Because this wasn't just another player sitting out. This was Caitlin Clark, the face, the draw, the reason thousands of fans booked flights, reserved hotel rooms, and dropped their paychecks on merch before she even stepped on the court. And now, she was nowhere in sight. No pre-game shoot-around, no highlight reel deep threes, no viral moments. Just a sore groin, a quiet announcement, and a city left holding the bag. Let's rewind. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. The WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis was supposed to be the crown jewel of the season. It was a celebration of progress, of popularity, of possibility. And most of all, it was a celebration of her. Caitlin Clark had changed everything. Since the moment she entered the league, ticket sales soared, ratings spiked, jerseys sold out. She didn't just join the WNBA. She revived it, injected it with fresh energy, new fans, and a storyline that finally got America to pay attention. And the league knew it. They'd picked Indianapolis for a reason. Clark's home turf. The city she'd turned upside down with her arrival. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was supposed to be ground zero for the Caitlin Clark era. But the WNBA didn't plan for what would happen if she wasn't there. And when the news broke that Clark was injured, sidelined with nagging groin issue caused by a month of unrelenting, brutal physical play, the air went out of the balloon. Fast. First came the ticket apps. Prices dropped like a rock. $250 seats slashed to $60, then $40, then $15. Entire rows up for grabs, no bidding war in sight. Then came the cancellations. Hotels that had jacked up prices for All-Star Weekend suddenly had vacancies. Restaurants emptied. Shops stocked with fever-themed merch watched it collect dust. The fans had made it clear. No Caitlin. No game. It was never just about the basketball. It was about the moment. The idea of witnessing greatness, in person, in real time. Without her, it fell hollow. And it didn't help that the game itself, kind of a mess. Empty seats. Flat energy, a weird vibe hovering over every pass, every dunk attempt, every cheer that didn't quite reach full volume. It wasn't just a Caitlin size hole. It was a total misfire. The players did what they could. But the momentum? Gone. And all this points to a deeper, more uncomfortable truth. The WNBA isn't ready for what it's built. Because for all the progress, all the attention, all the money flowing in, the infrastructure is still shaky. The leadership is still reactive. The officiating is still wildly inconsistent. And Caitlin Clark paid the price. Let's talk about that. Because this injury, it didn't come out of nowhere. It wasn't a freak accident. It was a result of months of getting slammed, bumped, elbowed, and hacked by defenders who knew full well what they were doing. Every team wanted to send a message. You're not special here. You're not the golden girl anymore. Welcome to the league. And the refs? They let it happen. Night after night, Clark took hit after hit. Some subtle, some blatant. Shoulder checks, forearm shivers, hard fouls that mysteriously didn't get called. It became a trend. And the league did nothing. Even fans started to notice. Highlight reels weren't just showing her threes anymore. They were showing the abuse. Clips of her being thrown to the floor, getting poked in the eye, grabbed on screens, slammed on layups. But the calls didn't come. And now neither did she. Her injury, a groin strain compounded by quad issues, wasn't just bad luck. It was predictable. A body under siege with no protection eventually breaks down. So, where was the accountability? The WNBA commissioner made a brief statement, vague, corporate, full of unfortunate timing, and we look forward to her recovery. But no acknowledgement of the why behind the injury. No apology. No promise to change officiating standards. No action plan to protect their biggest star. And fans noticed. Because it wasn't just Clark who got burned. It was the fans who spent their hard-earned money to be part of something special. It was the local businesses who stocked up for a crowd that never came. It was the other players, left to perform in a half-empty arena, knowing full well the league didn't support its stars the way it should. And all of it boiled over into one undeniable message. The WNBA needs to grow up, fast, because relying on Caitlin Clark to carry the league while refusing to protect her is not just short-sighted. It's self-destructive. She's not a marketing gimmick. She's not a PR tool. She's a generational talent. And if you don't take care of her, she will leave. That's not speculation. That's reality. There's already buzz about overseas leagues, private teams, even potential investors trying to poach her for new ventures. And who could blame her? If the league won't defend her, why should she defend the league? The All-Star Game could have been a turning point, a moment to rally, to show fans, players, and the world that the WNBA doesn't just care about attention. It cares about its athletes. Instead, it exposed the cracks. It showed us how fragile the hype really is, how quickly the fans will bounce if the league doesn't deliver, how dangerous it is to put all your chips on one player without protecting her like she's the franchise. The boycott wasn't just about Caitlin Clark. It was about every foul that went uncalled, every fan complaint that went ignored, every bad officiating night that got brushed aside, every vague press release that said nothing when the league needed to say something. This wasn't a one-time failure. This was the result of months of negligence. And now, the damage is done. Caitlin Clark is injured. The All-Star Game flopped. The fans are furious. And the league? Still silent. If they think this will blow over, they're wrong. Because fans aren't just watching product. They're watching how the players are treated. And right now, it's not a good look. The WNBA doesn't just need better marketing. It needs better management. And until it gets that, don't be surprised if the next time Caitlin Clark misses a game, fans miss it too. You can feel it in the air. Not just frustration, betrayal. This wasn't supposed to be how the season's shining moment ended. The WNBA had momentum, energy, buzz. This was their chance to show the world they weren't just growing, they were evolving. But the truth? All that progress was built on Caitlin Clark's shoulders. And when she went down, the cracks started to show. Let's talk about what was supposed to happen. The All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis was designed to be a celebration. Part basketball, part fan fest, part coronation. Clark was going to headline everything. The skills challenge, the interviews, the game itself. Advertisers were prepped. Sponsors lined up. The cameras were ready. And so were the fans. They didn't come to see a league. They came to see her. When news of her injury broke, the disappointment wasn't just personal. It was economic. Small businesses that invested in Caitlin-themed merchandise suddenly had stock they couldn't sell. Event organizers had to refund premium ticket packages. Entire fan meetups got canceled on the spot. And that's when the phrase started trending. No Caitlin, no game. It wasn't just a slogan. It became a movement, a quiet protest, sparked by disillusioned fans who were finally saying what many have been thinking for weeks. If the league won't protect its stars, why should we show up? That's the danger of putting all your eggs in one basket. And now the WNBA is learning that lesson the hard way. But here's the thing. Caitlin Clark isn't mad. She's hurt, sure. Disappointed, definitely. But what makes this even more heartbreaking is how she's handled it. She didn't rant. She didn't call anyone out by name. She showed up to media events. She signed autographs from a bench. She smiled through interviews when it was clear she wanted nothing more than to play. She did everything right. And yet, somehow, she's still the one paying the price. Meanwhile, the league? Dodging questions, offering vague statements, pretending like this is just another blip on the radar. It's not. This is a wake-up call. Because it's not just Clark who's vulnerable. It's every player who brings star power to this league. If they're not protected, physically, professionally, and publicly, what message does that send? It says, we'll use you to sell tickets, but don't expect us to protect you when the hits come. It says, you're valuable until you're injured, then you're invisible. And that right there is what fans are protesting. They're not just boycotting a game. They're boycotting mistreatment. They're tired of watching stars be built up just to be broken down. Tired of celebrating talent only to watch it sidelined by lazy officiating and ignored safety protocols. Tired of empty promises from a league that wants respect but hasn't earned trust. And yet, there's still hope. Because while this All-Star weekend was a bust, it could also be a turning point. If the WNBA listens, really listens, there's a chance to rebuild, to learn from this failure, to put real systems in place that prioritize player safety over PR. It starts with officiating. The league needs to draw a line, not just in policy, but in practice. No more letting them play when it turns into brawls. No more brushing off hard fouls as part of the game. If you want to market stars like Caitlin Clark, then protect them like stars. Next, transparency. Fans aren't stupid. They know when they're being given lip service. They want accountability. They want to hear how the league is going to fix this. Not just for Clark, but for every player who's been overlooked, overfouled, and undersupported. And finally, respect. For the fans. For the cities that host these games. For the players putting their bodies on the line every single night. You can't ask people to believe in the league if the league doesn't believe in itself. The All-Star flop isn't the end of the world, but it is a test. One the league failed this weekend. Now it's up to them to make it right. Because Caitlin Clark will heal. She'll come back. Stronger, smarter, more determined than ever. That's who she is. But whether she stays, whether she gives the WNBA her prime, that depends on what the league does next. And the fans? They're watching. Closely. Because next time the lights turn on and Clark is back on court, there's one question that will hang over every possession, every headline, every sold-out crowd. Did the league learn anything? Or will history just repeat itself? The league's response so far? Quiet. Too quiet. No emergency press conference. No bold initiative. No, we hear you, moment to reassure fans or players. Just silence. Maybe a vague tweet here. A recycled quote from Commissioner Kathy Engelbert there. But nothing that meets the moment. Nothing that proves they understand the gravity of what just happened in Indianapolis. And this silence speaks volumes. Because whether they realize it or not, the WNBA just stumbled into a credibility crisis. You can't promote a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, stack the league's visibility on her shoulders, and then disappear when things go sideways. That's not leadership. That's negligence. The fans weren't just disappointed because their favorite player couldn't suit up. They were disillusioned because the league had no plan. No plan for fan refunds. No transparency about Clark's recovery timeline. No real concern about how to turn the event into something meaningful even in her absence. And the result? Empty seats. A lifeless atmosphere. Energy levels that felt more like preseason than All-Star weekend. Local businesses were promised a spike in traffic, record-breaking footfall, and a flood of tourism. Hotels stocked up. Restaurants extended hours. Retailers invested in exclusive merch runs with Clark's name all over it. And then, a 75% drop in ticket prices. Last-minute cancellations. Surplus inventory no one wanted. All because one player wasn't there. If that doesn't tell you how much weight Caitlin Clark carries, I don't know what does. But that also raises a more uncomfortable question. What happens if she decides not to stick around? Because if Clark doesn't feel valued, protected, or prioritized, what's keeping her here? You've already got European leagues offering better pay and more stable treatment. Private investment groups circling the waters. Even exhibition and crossover leagues that are openly discussing poaching talent with better infrastructure and direct brand partnerships. And Clark? She's smart, strategic. She's not just thinking about this season. She's thinking about her legacy. The league should be doing the same. Because as it stands now, the entire All-Star debacle may have exposed more than just operational missteps. It exposed a fundamental imbalance. The league wants superstars, but doesn't know how to support them. Let's take a closer look at what went wrong. For months, fans and media alike have pointed out the increasingly physical play targeting Clark. She's taken elbows, body checks, cheap shots, and off-ball contact that wouldn't fly in a pickup game, let alone a professional one. But somehow, the officiating let it ride. Fouls go uncalled. Players rarely get ejected. Game management feels reactive instead of proactive. And now, the result of that slow, simmering neglect is one of your biggest draws sidelined with a significant injury. Fans noticed. Broadcasters noticed. Sponsors noticed. And when the league didn't respond, they made the only move left. They stopped showing up. It's not that people don't care. It's that people are tired of being gaslit. Tired of being told everything is fine when it clearly isn't. Tired of investing their time and money into a league that doesn't seem to protect its own investment. Because let's be honest, Caitlin Clark is the investment. She's brought in more viewership than the league has seen in a decade. Her jersey sales crash the online store. Every game she plays gets picked up by national broadcasters. And even when she's not on the floor, she's in every ad, every pregame graphic, every promo reel. And the moment she goes down, what happens? The air gets sucked out of the room. This isn't to say other players don't matter. They do. Aya Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Eriko Gunbowl, and others are absolute monsters on the court. But when it comes to mainstream attention, Caitlin is the bridge. She's the reason casual fans became diehards. She's the one filling seats in away arenas like it's a Taylor Swift tour. So when she's not protected and then not replaced, you've got a vacuum. And right now, that vacuum is swallowing the WNBA's credibility whole. The All-Star Game should have been an opportunity, a challenge, a chance for the league to prove it's bigger than one player. Instead, it became a harsh reminder that without her, the league hasn't figured out how to keep the momentum going. That's not Caitlin's fault. That's on the leadership. You can't build an empire on someone's name and not invest in the foundation. You can't cash in on her success without preparing for what happens if she gets injured. The game needed more than backup plans. It needed storytelling, stakes, a sense of pride and spectacle that went beyond one superstar's presence. What we got was a placeholder, one where fans didn't bother to show up. Businesses took a hit, and the media walked away wondering whether the league was truly ready for prime time. But if there's one silver lining in all of this, it's the lesson, because now the league can no longer pretend. You can't hide behind surface-level statements or vague optimism when the reality is staring you in the face. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent, and she needs to be treated like one. That means better officiating. That means stricter penalties for excessive contact. That means medical staff who don't just rubber stamp returns to play because the league needs a ratings bump. That means marketing other players alongside her, not just behind her. Because the truth is, Caitlin doesn't want to carry this alone. She shouldn't have to. She's already doing her job, showing up, putting on a show, and acting like a professional even when the league itself is fumbling the basics. If you want a thriving WNBA, you need to build a structure that allows for multiple stars to shine. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for disappointment every time one of them misses a game. And right now, the WNBA just got its warning shot. What happens next, that's entirely up to them. So now the spotlight is on the WNBA, not because of a buzzer beater or a record-breaking play, but because fans are asking the question the league has avoided for too long. What happens if Caitlin Clark walks away? What if she decides the physicality, the lack of protection, the vague injury protocols, and the tone-deaf PR just aren't worth it? What if she takes her star power, her record-breaking numbers, and her massive influence and goes where she feels valued? The league can't afford to find out, because whether they like it or not, Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's a movement. And movements don't wait around forever. This all-star disaster should be a wake-up call, not just about the importance of one player, but about what happens when you fail to build around her, when you depend on her to carry the whole league, but don't invest in protecting her or uplifting the players beside her, when the hype is sky-high, but the infrastructure underneath is shaky at best. There's still time to fix it, time to reevaluate how injuries are managed, time to clamp down on officiating that allows excessive contact to go unchecked, time to look players in the eye and say, "We've got your back." But that window is closing fast, because fans are watching, sponsors are watching, players are watching, and most importantly, Caitlin is watching. She's seen what happens when she's out of the picture. A tumble in attendance, a dip in engagement, A weekend that was supposed to celebrate the game turning into a ghost town. She's seen that her presence isn't just valued, it's relied upon. And that's a lot of pressure for one person, even a generational talent. That pressure should be shared by the league, by the leadership, by the marketing teams, and by every player who's earned the right to stand on that same platform. Because the WNBA can be bigger than any one player, but only if it chooses to be. And choosing that future starts with accountability, with recognizing that what happened in Indianapolis wasn't a fluke. It was a reflection of how far the league has come and how far it still has to go. It's a call to action, to protect the talent, respect the grind, and stop pretending everything's fine when fans, players, and the empty seats are telling you otherwise. Because if another all-star game rolls around and the league still hasn't learned, there might not be a next time. And the worst part? Caitlin Clark will be fine either way. But the league? They might not recover. The clock's ticking. What they do next will define everything.